I'm here today to talk to you about what we can accomplish with the Global PWS Registry. Some of you may be familiar, you may have heard us talk about this time and again, and maybe you wonder, why do we keep talking about this? And really it's because it's one of the most powerful tools we have to push research forward, to engage with you as a community, to share information back to you, and also to provide information to the FDA and to help move drug trials and other things forward. So, knowledge is power. What do we need to know? We have lots of questions, and the more people that complete the surveys in the Global PWS Registry, the more rich the data is that we share back to you, that you can share with your clinicians, with your medical providers, with your educators who have questions about how to manage a child with Prader-Willi syndrome in school. If you are somebody who has somebody in a residential placement, sometimes the residential caretakers need education on what it's like to understand Prader-Willi syndrome, and the registry is a really great tool to be able to gather that information and share it with it. Lending your voice to what it's like to live with PWS is a very powerful thing, and we don't have a lot of opportunities to do that outside of maybe these types of community gatherings, but the registry is something that's very easily accessible to you from home. And then this data is published and shared back to you and available and accessible to your medical care providers. One of the things that we do through the registry is share this information back, but you also have to consent to receive that information. And so, there's a couple of questions when you've created an account that ask how you want to be contacted by us. And some people are worried about getting spam and lots of emails. You're not going to get spammed by us. So if you're not currently receiving communication from the registry and you want to change that, I'm happy to show you how to do that. But as Caroline was referencing, like that feeding tube survey that's going into publication, if somebody is in the registry and has consented to receive information from us, that's a really quick and fast way to get it. We will push that out through the registry. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a really impactful way to inform the FDA on what it's like to live with PWS. We have data from natural history study that's been presented to the FDA before. They really want to understand what Prader-Willi is, and we provide that information to them through in 2021, for example, through the patient listening session, where we gave a detailed overview of the many facets of PWS, what it was like to have this impact on caregiver from a daily living perspective, your ability to work, your ability to get rest, and all of the things that are really important that impact those decisions. So. And importantly, and I'm sure you've heard this from us already, data from the natural history study, data from the Global PWS Registry was used by Soleno to support their application or their submission of information to the FDA. So they were able to look at their data, compare it to the natural history data, and show that information from the natural history showed a difference between use of their medication and those that were not on medication, in addition to their placebo-controlled trial. We've launched a number of other things, the PWS Anxiousness and Distress Questionnaire, otherwise known as the PADQ, really to address that unmet medical need in Prader-Willi syndrome. And then we also validate a number of tools that are used as ways to collect endpoint data in clinical trials. So there's a lot of utility in the Global PWS Registry that we want to be able to use. And again, the more people we have contributing to that, the more information and the more rich the data is. So it's a big impact for a really small investment. I know I'm a parent of a teenager with Prader-Willi, and aside from managing that from day to day, I have other things to do. I work, I have other children, but when I look at the time investment, it's very manageable. There are many, many surveys in that registry. It can look overwhelming when you go in there, but really you don't have to do them all at one time. You can take 5 minutes of your day, go in and complete a survey of interest to you, and then come back and revisit later when you have some more time to complete other things. So doing it in small, manageable bites is really important. We really want to make this as effortless as possible. So, I'm your dedicated support person. If you're having trouble, if you have questions, if you can't remember your password, don't get frustrated. Don't make this something that, is challenging to you and then becomes an obstacle. My email is on there. My phone number is on there. You can text, you can call, you can email me, and I'm happy to help. But one of the things that's important is, this is a really easy way to contribute very directly to research from the comfort of your own home. You can do it on your computer, you can do it on your tablet. It is mobile. It is available on the mobile device. It's a little bit more challenging, but they are upgrading the platform. We hope to see it more user-friendly on mobile devices going forward. And the other thing I don't want you to forget is, just remember that our children change as they age. And so these surveys are intended to be updatable. So as your experience living with PWS changes, you get a new diagnosis, you start a new medication, something new is happening in your world, go in and update that survey that relates to that issue or question, because when we present this information or researchers come to us for this information, we want to give them the most current, up-to-date information that we can. But we also want to understand the natural history over the lifespan of PWS. We don't want to just know what it's like the day you filled it out. We want to know what it's like 5 years from now and 10 years from now so that we can answer those questions. And I think one of the most well-received tools are the graphs that we have. So for every survey that you complete, there is a graph that you can visualize that shows you what your experience is compared to others who have filled out the survey. You're not going to see their individual responses, but you will see a percentage of people that answered that same survey question in the way that you did. So, I know that we all wonder sometimes if our experience of living with Prader-Willi is unique or different, or is it really PWS, or is it something else that's, making this challenge occur? But this is a great tool to go in and see if perhaps others are experiencing the same thing. And I've had people tell me that they use these graphs, they print them out, they take them to their medical care providers. We know we've all encountered providers that may not be as familiar with PWS as we are, or others like Dr. Salehi that sees children with PWS on a very regular basis. So this is a tool that you can use to bring in and share with them. It's also a great tool for educators to understand when you're trying to express that behaviors are a really big challenge in PWS and they're not understanding that. Take in this information and share it with them. So, it really helps drive home a point, and that research is right there at your fingertips. We really also want to focus on sharing this information back to the community. So you may have seen infographics that we have shared on social media. Again, if you've consented to receive information from the Global PWS Registry, you're going to get emails that give a little blog and this, some of these examples of infographics that give an overview of a particular question that people may have. Sometimes we're looking at social media to see what you all are talking about and saying, oh, people are asking questions about this. Let's go in and pull our data and share it back to the community. So it's a really good way to learn about what's going on with others. And know that when you fill these out, you are directly contributing to research. I can't say this enough. Every single survey you fill out contributes very directly to research. So we find it very important. And another point is that it does create an electronic medical record for you down the road. If, again, I have a 17-year-old. I don't remember what happened last week sometimes. It's very hard for me to remember what he did at 12 months, but you could go back into that registry and see your information, and it's stored there. So this last slide is really busy. It's not intended for you to read all the words on the page, but really it's an overview of all of the publications that we have had recently with regard to survey questions that have been answered. So I think the important part to look at is the number of people that have participated in generating that data. So with each of these surveys, we have hundreds of people that have contributed to making these publications possible. But moreover, look at the number of times these articles have been viewed. In some instances, it's over 2,000 times, which means the information is getting out there to the medical community and others, and that has a direct impact on the care that you receive for your child. Clinicians learn how to serve our children better by staying up to date on these published articles and research, and that improves the standards of care that your kids receive. So, some of the examples that you see here are excessive daytime sleepiness correlated with psychiatric concerns and anxiety and depression and psychosis. That one has been, I think particularly of interest, but, there's lots of other things and great information that's going to continue to come from this registry. As Caroline referenced, the feeding tube survey that's coming out next. And we have another publication that's been submitted for review as well. So on hyperphagia and changes in adulthood. And then again, just reinforcing that those publications are used to inform the FDA. So when we're looking for medications and treatments to be approved by the FDA, they need to understand what is the key critical issue, how is it impacting our community, and why these treatments are so very important. And all of these publications lend to, sorry, I'm not speaking properly today, lend themselves to educating those FDA reviewers who are making those decisions on behalf of our community. And that is what I have. If you want to set up an account, there's the website right there. I would ask that each of you could set a goal. For those that already have an account, go in and update a survey. Maybe it's been a year or two since you've been in there. If you haven't set up an account, come find me. I'm happy to help you. You can email or text me or call me. But at the end of it, I want you guys to leave with a smile on your face because you did contribute to research each and every time you go in there. So if anybody has any questions about the registry, I'm happy to answer.
To the registry.